The Poetry Center, bringing poetry to Patterson since 1980 at Passaic County Community College.
Thank you for your help, by the way.
Thank you for being you. You know, you live in two different locations.
Yes.
Any of that help form the way you write, how that might, those locations
Oh,
might...
absolutely, absolutely.
And what has that done for you?
The change in weather and the change in scenery. So when I go to Florida, all the tropical climate opens up, the scenery changes, the people change. And I spend a lot of time in Flamingo Park, watching people sitting there in my neighborhood. It's an actual neighborhood. And I swear the world comes through Flamingo Park. As far as New Hampshire goes, it is the state capital, the smallest state capital in America. And it is the whitest state capital in America. And so the contrast between Yankee Land and South Beach is just tremendous. The great thing about the Yankees up there is that they can really stand the cold weather. The scenery changes, the climate changes, the Golden Dome shines. I live near the Golden Dome shines. And that contrast, I swear, keeps me alive.
Can you show us your t-shirt?
Yes. And I love Little Richard.
Wait a minute, how did that come about? Where did that come from?
I'm a fan of Little Richard. I think he was a brave, brave man. He came from Macon, Georgia. He was beautiful, and he said, "Beauty's on duty," and nothing could stop him. Freedom Now. His best album, I think, is called The Real Thing. And believe me, it's real.
Wow. Now, you know, you're inspiring. The things that you say, but not so much the things that you say, but the aura that you project. You project something different, something exciting. Where did that come from?
I was described by my family as the kid with the mouthpiece. And I think it just came. Mostly I spend my time writing. It's a very introverted scene. I'm at my desk and I'm at my computer. But I swear that the rhythms that I grew up with in my neighborhood in Passaic somehow came into me, and the voices of my family and my friends came into me, and it just came. I was the kid with the mouthpiece.
What could you share, or could you share anything that might inspire those who might be watching or listening to you?
Yes. First of all, read a lot. Read a lot and listen. Keep a notebook every day if you can.
Isn't that nice?
Develop work habits that no matter what, you open your book and you write something, and that you definitely are open to all sorts of experience. And don't give up. Listen to the rhythm. I'll always be your slave till I'm buried in my grave, says Little Richard. Listen to Little Richard. Listen to the music that you like. Dance and pick up the rhythm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love your work. It's got a little more light, completely original. Where did all that come from? And the sense of humor. Where did all that come from?
Well, I think that really just through a lot of different experiences throughout my life. I'm inspired by my life, but I'm also inspired by a lot of pieces of pop culture, as well as other writers and artists. So there's a lot of sort of combination of different things, and really kind of thinking about the everyday experience. So as a writer, I listen to everything around me and people and experiences that oftentimes inspire a lot of the different pieces in there.
what could you share with the listener, the viewer, as to what could you share with them on how they could begin to release themselves, let themselves go, even if it's not poetry? But you know, a lot of people are frustrated, especially after the pandemic. Anything you could say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think writing of any kind is a great sort of release, and even if it's meant just for yourself. So I oftentimes encourage people to even just do free writing, where you're kind of timing yourself even for 10 minutes and just kind of writing as much as you can, get down. And sometimes you really surprise yourself with the things that come out in that way. And if you're interested in shaping it into something further, you can kind of use that as good inspiration.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Emily Highland, and I am a writer, a yoga teacher, a restaurateur, and I've been inspired to just stay active with all of the things that excite me in my life, so I keep moving in the directions of passion, and that's driven me especially into this realm of poetry as I get older.
Cool. I've been here for a minute, so I've interviewed everyone from Galway Canal, Ginsberg, all of them as a kid, and now here I'm as an adult, and I truly appreciate the difference of everybody today. Where did all of this come from for today for you? Where did this poetry come from?
I feel like my poetry comes from my life experience, and I really use the writing of poetry as a way to process what's challenging and what's right in front of me. So I write my way through the difficult situations.
And even, was that you going to jail or lockup for a minute?
That was me.
Okay. And last thing is, other than the poetry, so you've got these restaurants. Mm-hmm. Were you like in the kitchen kind of making this stuff, and that's how it all came about, or?
In my restaurant group, I've been the owner-operator, so I've always done the front of the house and all of the systems management and everything like that. So we've had, my business partner is our chef, and I deal with everything else.
Cool. So what does that learn? What did you learn about all of this? I mean, you're relatively still young.
I am.
What has this taught you in life? And is there anything that you can share?
I think the biggest thing about my experiences thus far and the process of writing is about being in process and building resilience through the artwork.
Very good, thank you.
Good.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Sean Webb. Happy to have been a finalist in the Lower Boston Narrative Poetry Contest. How did come to this? I had the good fortune of running into a person who helped it all make sense. That poetry was the one thing that, or at least the main thing I had an affinity for and had the good fortune to practice. And
yeah, did you know that this was kind of buried in your soul, or what did it take to come? What did it take to get it out?
I apparently did. I told my mother when I was 6 I wanted to be a writer, and all the years for the next 20 years I kind of felt I wanted to do that, but I had absolutely no idea how to go about that happening. And until again, I found that trying to write prose, that wasn't working out. But then I actually studied with Rita Dove was the first person I studied with, and she kind of opened the door in my mind that enabled this to happen.
You happy?
Yeah, quite happy.
God bless you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sharon Kennedy Knoll.
Where did all this come from?
The work, the subject matter?
The subject matter, the work, the courage?
Well, I've been writing poems since I was 12. And visiting the extant themes that there are to write about in poetry. But really, when my oldest son became sick, mentally ill, and suffered from a dual diagnosis of addiction and mental illness, and the years you were mentioning time, and it's true, and there's a strangely warped aversion when you begin to go into trauma. And you see someone so afflicted, and your family becomes warped by it. Time bends in peculiar ways, and so that kind of marinated in me, and it informs my work. And for me, the most healing thing I could do would be to write about it. And from the moment, really, he went missing to right on through, and even now I write about it. It's not the only thing I write about, of course, but of course you never get over something like losing a child, and it informs all the work, for sure.
I think you're so brave, and I think you're writing and reciting and sharing a topic that a lot of us don't want to talk about. It's not in the news as much as it should be. Is there anything two questions, is there anything that you can share with us that would help maybe the viewer or the listener to begin at least to acknowledge that there's some issues going on there?
The kindest thing is to listen and to inquire. I think it's an oversharing culture in a way, as you know. People bring out everything in some ways, but it's all superficially treated and processed and done with, and going through some sort of trauma, whatever the nature of the trauma is, instills after the fact its best source is a compassionate curiosity about the world. And if that can be kept for people and cultivated, then the world would be a better place.
Last question. The person who introduced you talked about these degrees. I'm saying, Mamma Mia, where did she have time? But you know what? After listening to your poetry, after that introduction, I think those degrees help you form you.
That's
right?
True, for sure. No, the wonderful thing about MFA programs, whether it's a low residency or in person, and I was on the track, is it buys you time to write. It gives you a roof over your head and a ways and means to sit down and work on your craft. And the other thing about it is it introduces you to so many other poets, well-known, up-and-coming, the whole gamut. And that informs, it's a great percolation. It's a rare type of program. And I did go back and get a PhD, a different kind of experience, really using a different part of my brain. But I studied 19th century Civil War Reconstruction and women's history. And that, of course, is in there too. And that keeps coming back, sure.
I thank you very much, and I believe that your best work is yet to come. I think there's so much that you have cultivated that eventually more and more profound conversations and poetry and writing. You're probably going to write a novel, or if you're not, you're working on a couple of them already. You got a lot in you, sister, that I think the world needs to know about.
Oh, thank you.
So is there anything that you might say about that? Your education, you as a human being, your sacrifices?
Well, I'm immersed right now in this poet laureate work, and I'm actually helping people the project funded by the Academy is working with people who have issues with substance use and mental illness. So I'm very involved in other people's work and community activism, and that will end soon. So I am come back to my usual dull self. We'll have more time for writing, and that's the kindest thing anyone could say to me. Thank you.